If you're self-employed and need a simple bookkeeping system, you're in the right place. In this video, we'll cover what bookkeeping is, why it's so important, and how to do it in just 3 easy steps. Plus, I'll walk you through a live tutorial and provide free access to a free template, so make sure to watch until the very end. So what is bookkeeping? Bookkeeping is how you track your income and expenses, giving you a clear picture of your business's financial health. Now, I know that bookkeeping probably isn't your idea of a fun Sunday night activity, but if you want to run a profitable business and set yourself up for growth, it's absolutely essential. Let's quickly cover why it matters. Why is bookkeeping important? Most business owners think that bookkeeping is just for filing taxes, and while that's true, it's so much more than that. Bookkeeping is key to understanding whether your business is actually profitable and whether your current strategies are working. It helps you answer questions like, do you have a healthy profit margin? Are you overspending on non-essential expenses? Has your revenue been declining? And if your business is thriving, do you have enough cash to reinvest and grow your team? Having accurate, up-to-date financial information empowers you to make better financial decisions for your business. How to do your bookkeeping in 3 easy steps. Step 1 is to get organized. Start by gathering all the information that you need. Log into your online banking account and download your credit card and bank transactions in an Excel or CSV format. It's also important to keep your supporting documentation like income invoices and expense receipts. You could keep them in a shoebox, but I recommend taking pictures of your receipts and organizing them in a Google Drive or Dropbox. The reason why is if you're ever audited by the tax authorities, you'll need proof of these expenses to claim them as tax deductions. And without receipts, your expenses could be denied, leaving you with a higher tax bill. Step 2, categorize your income and expenses. Once you've gathered your transactions, copy and paste them into a bookkeeping template. For simple businesses like a sole proprietorship, an Excel template is usually enough. Make sure you stay tuned until the very end for a bookkeeping template and a step-by-step tutorial. As your business grows, you can transition into bookkeeping softwares like QuickBooks, which I personally use and recommend. If you're interested, I do have a discount link for QuickBooks in the description box down below. Next, categorize your transactions into specific buckets. For this, you'll need a chart of accounts, which is just a fancy way of saying a list of labels for different types of income and expenses that are suitable for your business type. For example, if you are a content creator, some accounts under income can be AdSense revenue, sponsorship income, affiliate marketing income, online courses, and etc. For expenses, some categories can be advertising expenses, contractor payment, meals and entertainment, professional services like accounting and legal fees, business travel expenses, and utilities like internet and phone bill. So go through each transaction and assign it to the correct category. Step 3, format and understand your income statement. An income statement summarizes all your transactions in an easy to read format. Here is how it can be structured. For revenue, list your income streams at the top to identify which are growing and performing well. And for expenses, list your costs below revenue to see where your money is going, whether costs are increasing and what expenses might be unnecessary. Your last line would be your profit. So subtract all your expenses from your revenue to calculate your take-home pay. Your income statement gives you the data that you need to make smarter financial decisions. Are you happy with your profit? What steps can you take to increase it? Now that you understand the 3 steps, let's go through it in a step-by-step tutorial. Today, we'll be focusing on creating an income statement, which is usually sufficient for small business owners and sole proprietors. If you're required to create a balance sheet for tax purposes or have more advanced bookkeeping needs, I recommend that you consult with an accountant in order to make sure that your books are done properly. If you'd like to learn more about what a balance sheet is, make sure to check out my video over here. Now let's jump right into the live tutorial where I'll show you exactly how to do your bookkeeping step by step. Welcome to the bookkeeping tutorial where I'll be walking you through step by step on how to do your bookkeeping for small businesses and sole proprietors. If you want access to this particular template, make sure to check out the description box down below. Now let's just get started right away. The very first tab here is business info. This is a place where you can get organized and put down all your information like your name, your business name, your address, your business email, your fiscal year end, type of business, and your GST HST number. On the second tab is called the transactions type. And this is where you to come up with your chart of accounts. And like I said previously, chart of accounts is just a fancy way of saying a list of categories that are most relevant to your specific type of business. And so for example, here you can see that there are a lot of generic terms like sales type 1, cost of sales 1, and then a bunch of operating expenses that are common to most businesses like advertising, bank charges, insurance, meals and entertainment, licenses and dues, office supplies, office expenses, and etc. And you can see here that there is even room for you to customize certain expenses that are unique to your business. So feel free to update all of these. And then lastly, there is a section for capital assets. So capital assets, we do bookkeeping a little bit differently. They're not considered expenses in the year. We would need to actually capitalize them and then take depreciation expense. This concept we'll go in a little bit more detail later in this tutorial. But this is also an area where your bigger purchases like your office equipment, computer equipment, vehicle, furniture, all that can be categorized under capital assets. Now, another list of transactions are more your personal expenses, such as your home and your vehicle, in which a part of it can be expense for business purposes. This will also be getting into a little bit more detail later in this bookkeeping tutorial, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview. The third tab is where you copy and paste all your transactions in this specific order: account, date, details, gross amount, GST, HST, and then the net amount will be automatically calculated based on your amount here. And then this is an area where you can categorize your transactions based on your chart of accounts. So this tab is specifically only for your business bank account and credit card. And then any of your personal expenses like your home office and your vehicles, in which we'll be only taking a portion of it for business expenses at a later time, will be copied and pasted here and categorized accordingly. Once you have updated the bookkeeping templates for these two tabs, you'll find that the income statement should be automatically updated. And I'll show you how that is done in a little bit when I actually go through a live example, as well as other tabs like capital assets, home office, and vehicle will also be updated once you complete the bookkeeping tabs over here. Now that you have an overview of how the bookkeeping template works, let's dive right into a live example using a fictitious client. So this client, his name is Taylor Harmon, and he operates a business called Harmonize Productions. He is also a sole proprietor. He lives in 123 Crescendo Lane, Suite 202, Vancouver, BC. His email is taylor@harmonizeproduction.ca. Keep a note, all of this is made up. I've used ChatGPT to come up with this fictitious character. And the year end that we're going to be doing the bookkeeping for is the December 31st, 2024 year end. And the type of business is he is a sole proprietor. He is a music production content creator, and he also is registered for his GST, and he has inputted his GST number here for easy access. Now, when it comes to transaction types, I already went ahead and customized it according to his unique business operations. So for the type of sales, you can see that there is ad revenue, affiliate income, brand sponsorships, there is online course income, merchandise sales. When it comes to cost of sales, they are directly linked to the sales income. So in order to earn that sales income, he must incur these direct costs. So they can be merchandise production costs, packaging and shipping supplies, online course hosting fees, music licensing, as well as subcontracted work. Now, other more general operating expenses can be advertising, such as his Facebook and Instagram ads. There are bank charges related to his PayPal and Stripe processing fees. There's insurance on the various expensive equipment that he has. There are meals, there is entertainment, there is licenses, there's office, there's professional fees, there's studio rentals. So keep a note that this is separate from home office. This is strictly related to rental expense related to a studio that he might use for music production. There's repairs as well as software. This is a big one now that we use a lot of softwares to help operate our businesses. There might be other subcontractors and utilities and etc. And you can see that other expenses have also been customized that are unique to his business. So music streaming services, event fees, promotional merchandise, cloud storage fees, etc. And then for capital assets, there's office equipment, computer equipment, vehicle, cameras, and video equipment, as well as studio furniture. So all of these items were made up by ChatGPT that was unique to this particular business. Feel free to customize it according to your unique business operations. Now for home office and vehicle, they're mostly standard. None of this really needs much categorization. If you need extra extra room, then feel free to add them in these sections that says other or other 1, 2, 3. Feel free to go in and customize that, or even go in and edit the ones that are existing here. The other tabs should update automatically. Now that we have the chart of accounts set up, this is essentially step 0. We can move forward with step 1, which is step 1 in getting organized in compiling all the relevant statements from your business bank accounts and your business credit card. So I created this tab. It's just a work in progress tab. This is an area where you could copy and paste all your transactions and you could reorganize it and you could format it here before copy and pasting it over on this tab here. Now, this bookkeeping business only tab consists of the following columns. There is the account, so you might have a business bank account as well as a business Visa or business credit card. You will also have the date. So if you do this on a monthly basis, let's assume we're doing this for the month of January, all your January expenses are here. And then there's the details. So this is usually the details that are provided in your credit card statement or your bank account. They can be more generic or they can be specific. If they are generic and you don't really know what they are related to, you might have to do a little bit of digging and write some notes here on exactly what that is related to, just to clarify what that particular income or expense is. And then for the gross amount, this will just be what's on your credit card statement or your bank statement. Now, something that you will need to do a little bit of additional work is figure out the GST HST amount. So for example, for certain income items, you might be charging GST HST, and certain expenses that you're paying, you might also have a GST HST component. If you're registered for GST HST, this is something that you need to be on top of in order to file your GST HST return. For the purposes of this tutorial, we won't be getting into too much detail, but do note to keep it separate. So once you know your total amount and you know what the GST HST amount is, then what it will do is it will go ahead and calculate what the net amount is. So the net amount is the amount that is without GST HST. Once you have all that information here, then you could go about categorizing your income and your expenses. I already went ahead and did that for you, and I've categorized each of the expenses, but it's pretty straightforward to use. Once you have this tab updated, you will see that the list of those transactions will show up in this drop-down menu, in which you could simply search for and click. So for example, sales ad revenue, you could simply click, or you could even copy and paste it if you have multiple of the same items, or you could simply just type it up and click enter once you find the relevant item. So usually this can go pretty quickly. Once you have all your expenses listed, you could just quickly scan through and see what they are related to. So for example, if this item was not here and I was simply looking at this detail, I would think that is accounting. So you could type in accounting, or you could even type in professional fees, and you could just click enter and just move really quickly down the list. And once you have this categorized, you'll find that your income statement is also updated. Once you have all your business income and expense categorized, the next part is to do the same thing for your personal expenses, in which a portion of it can be expense for business purposes. So for this one, this is where you copy and paste all your personal credit card and bank account statements. So you can see here, there is a personal checking card, there is a BMO personal MasterCard, and on there you can see that there are various payments made to BC Hydro, rent, Shell, account of fuel, etc., etc. And then it's a matter of categorizing them. So we know that hydro is related to electricity. If you are paying rent to your landlord, we know that's related to rent. So it's just a matter of going through the list quickly, and just once you know, you can quickly categorize it like that. So just to recap, once you download all your transactions and copy and paste them here, that's the first step in getting organized and having all your information in one place. Now keep a note that all these income and expenses should have supporting documentation. They can be stored in a separate Google Drive where you have taken pictures of certain expenses, or you have digital copies of your receipts, and you could store them all by month in a Google folder somewhere. The second step would be to categorize them. So put them into their relevant buckets for sorting, which we have already gone ahead and done that already. We've done that both for business expenses and for the personal expenses, in which a portion of it can be expense for business purposes. The last step, step 3, is to format and understand your income statement. Now that all the work has been done, all the amounts have been picked up and updated in this particular tab, in which the income items are all summarized here, all the costs are summarized here, as well as all the operating expenses down here. And you come up with the final amount of net income before adjustments. So in the month of January, you've done about $16,415 net after expenses. So the income was $23,250, and then all the expenses was $6,753. Now there are a few adjustments that are needed to get to your final number. The first is your home office expenses. So if you were to jump into the home office tab, you can see that all the amounts have been updated based on the bookkeeping, personal, and business use tab. Now, what's really important here is for you to update the square footage information. So the first part here is the total square footage of your home. And then the second part here is the square footage of dedicated home office that you use for your business. Now, keep in mind that this space needs to exclusively be used for business purposes only and not for personal use. If there is also a personal use, then the calculation can get a little bit complicated where you start prorating hours of the day. In this particular case, let's say that you have a dedicated room in your home just used for your business. So let's say that's 250 square feet out of the 1,000. That is exactly 25% of the home used as an office. That means all your expenses, so this is your total home office expenses for the month of January, you get a portion of that, so 25%, in which $1,016 can be deducted as a business expense. So that's how we come out with the home office. This vehicle tab is also updated. So as you can see, all the gray tabs need to be updated. Let's say in this particular example that you have purchased a vehicle in which you are financing it. So you're paying monthly installments on it. Now, how to calculate the business use when it comes to your vehicles? First, start out with the kilometers at the start of the year. So as of January 1st, what is your odometer reading? Let's say that it was 5,000 kilometers. And then at the end of the year, let's say that your odometer is 10,000 kilometers. That is a total of 5,000 kilometers you have driven on that vehicle. Now, you also need to keep track of the business use. So throughout the year, you have kept a travel log of the trips that you have specifically made for business purposes. Let's say in this example, that adds up to 3,000 kilometers. So out of the 5,000 kilometers total driven, 3,000 was related to business, which means that 60% of the kilometers driven was related to business. That means that if you add up all the different expenses, that you could actually deduct 60% of your vehicle expenses. Now, keep in mind, when it comes to parking, there's no percentage used. It's either business or not business. So in this case, 100% of the parking fees are included as business expense. And so when you add up the business use percentage and the parking, that comes to $811. Lastly, when it comes to capital assets, I said that I will be touching on this topic. So capital assets are basically any big investments that you make that have a lasting value. So typically they last more than a year. Things like office equipment, computer, vehicles, cameras, furniture, they all tend to be bigger investments costing more than $500 and that last multiple years. That means that you cannot deduct the full amount in the current year. It means that you can only deduct the amount over multiple years. And when you deduct a portion of it over multiple years, that's called depreciation. So in this particular example, you can see that all the different amounts have been pulled from the bookkeeping tab here. So for example, let's say that you purchased a new camera for your content creator business. In that case, you categorize it as capital assets, cameras, and video equipment, and that amount gets automatically updated here, and you can see all the different capital assets that you purchased during the year. There is an amount for total cost, your GST HST amount, and the net cost. All of this gets updated from this tab, and then you also need to update the depreciation rate. So this is something that your tax accountant might need to do, or some research that you might do on your own, but you could come out with the depreciation rate on the Canada CRA website. So if you go to this part of the CRA website called Capital Cost Allowance Classes, you can see all the different depreciation rates. A very common class that a lot of items fall under is class 8. So class 8 is usually just equipment and furniture, and you can see here that on this tab under office equipment, I put in a 20% depreciation rate. So these are tentative and they're subject to change, so feel free to go in and change them. I've just put it in here for your convenience purposes and have your accountant update it at the end of the year. So in this case, let's say the depreciation rate on camera and video equipment is 20%. That means the depreciation amount on the total spent of $2,090 is $418. And if you add up the two depreciation amounts, then you come up with $484. So the $484 actually gets updated over here. And the rest, the difference between the $2,422 and $484 is $1,938, and a portion of this amount gets deducted in the following year. So as I said, not the full amount gets deducted in the current year, but only a portion of it. And the portion that gets deducted this year is $484.50. So you can see that amount has been updated here. After making the adjustments for your home office expenses, your vehicle expenses, and your depreciation, which comes from these various tabs, then you come up with your total net income after adjustments. So you can think of this as your final profit margin of your business for the month of January. And once you have all this information in front of you, not only are you organized and you have a peace of mind in terms of how your business is doing, you could actually look into the individual numbers and see if it makes sense to you. you. So for sales, you can look through it and see which revenue has been doing the best. In this particular case, brand sponsorships have been doing really well. And maybe that's an income source that you want to focus on going forward in order to further increase your revenue. When it comes to expenses, you could take a look to see what your biggest expenses are. You can see that you're investing quite into your professional fees and your wages and freelancers and contractors. You might go through this and think that it's pretty reasonable and that you're on track and you're pretty happy with your profit margin. Or you could go through it and think, so there are certain areas that I could definitely cut back on, or certain areas that I could just get rid of altogether, especially if it's not really serving your business and there are extra costs that are eating into your profit margin. So you can only do that once you're organized and you have all your information in front of you. And if you do this on a monthly basis or quarterly basis, you're able to make better informed financial decisions for your business and really set up your business for growth. If you like to use the exact template that I'm showing you today, there is a link in the description box down below to purchase it. And there's also a simpler version that you could download for free. By streamlining your bookkeeping process and staying organized, you can take control of your business finances and set yourself up for long-term success. Ideally, you should do your bookkeeping monthly or at least quarterly, and this keeps you informed about how your business is performing and prevents the last-minute scramble to gather everything for tax season. When your books are up to date, you can relax knowing that your finances are in order and sleep like a baby at night. If you thought this video was helpful, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos that are helpful for small business owners. In the meantime, check out other videos over here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!